Hi guys, we're doing something a little different today. First of all, I'm going to address the fact that I'm not wearing a shirt again. It is 4 fucking million degrees out there, and no. It's just you can live with that. You can just deal because no. Anyway, I wanted to make this video to kind of respond a little bit to the Casey Neistat Robert Kyncl interview that took place. What was it, yesterday? Well, got uploaded yesterday. It's interesting. It's a very necessary video, I think, but it's also it doesn't answer all our questions, and I think it needs a bit of a response. So I know this isn't my usual kind of thing, but I figured it's worth it. Let's give it a shot.
All right, welcome. Have you ever made a YouTube video before?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut up the interview to the relevant bits because it's a long video, and I mean most of you will probably have seen it by now, and if you haven't, I urge you to go and see the full interview, and then come back here if you want to hear my critiques, criticisms, and comments.
The Logan Paul controversy, because it's still very, very fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And to lead that off, I'm curious, what's it like for you, and then what's it like inside of YouTube when something like that, or any of the previous controversies happen? Is there a protocol in place?
Yeah, I mean, we have, depending on the severity of the issue at hand, we have escalation processes that take place, and we're looking at how this works against the guidelines, the community guidelines that we have set on YouTube. Which really help operate an open platform like ours. There's quite a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that the rest of the world doesn't see.
Okay, so he says there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, but he won't say what that is. I'm not implying a conspiracy theory of any kind. It's just that is super vague. It doesn't actually answer the question at all. He mentions having escalation processes in place, but he doesn't talk at all about what those are. I can understand from one perspective, so if people don't know what those processes are, then they can't try to game the system by playing around them. But at the same time, YouTube's number one problem is their inability to communicate properly with the creators. And this lack of transparency is like, it's annoying from the get-go, is just what I'm getting at.
9 days between it happening and you guys responding to it? How do you do better?
So we actually we had a press reply the next day within in less than 24 hours, but our social response was delayed.
The social response was delayed. I don't know what to think of that. It's why we're talking specifically about Logan Paul showing a corpse in a video that was on top of the homepage. I mean, it was, I'm pretty sure, number 1 on trending, and it took them more than a full working week to actually do something. And Logan Paul was the one who removed it himself. YouTube didn't strike it down. Again, just not a real answer. He's not actually telling us anything. He's just kind of doing PR work at this point.
And so what we were working on is we were trying to formulate our response, and of course, with Logan and a lot of his projects for original productions, there are hundreds of people involved, people whose paychecks depend on it. So we don't want to make a rash decision that impacts so many people's livelihood. It's not just Logan; it's many other people across multiple projects. However, we do want to be much faster. We're looking at those processes, and we want to be much more active.
Okay, they say they want to be more active. They're looking at the processes, but they haven't. This is the thing that Philip DeFranco said as well: is that there's no follow-up. You say, how are you looking at them? What are you planning to do to fix this? They're mentioning, oh yeah, this is a problem, and we're going to do something about it. Well, what are they going to do? They're not saying anything. I don't know how much Robert Kyncl was coached before this interview, how much he's willing or allowed to divulge, but that's a nothing answer. That's another nothing answer.
We'll have more to share soon on the steps we're taking to ensure a video like this is never circulated again. And I think that line, a video like this, had a lot of the community questioning what that means. And this is a bigger question, which is, how do how do you balance kind of being the thought police, saying this is okay and this is not, versus free speech, which is
Sure.
what YouTube has stood for so much so.
And you're hitting the nail on the head, which this is one of the hardest things. Scaling openness, developing standards, making sure that users feel safe, creators feel safe, and advertisers feel safe. Obviously, this video was not something that and I don't think anyone is proud to be associated with. But we think that the more we develop our community guidelines, the more we hone them and develop our standards along those lines, we think we can get there.
Again, he's not saying anything about how they're going to make sure a video like this is never circulated again. Does that mean upgrading the algorithm? Does it mean having more physical staff to moderate videos? And where's the line? You know, what's the difference between Logan Paul showing a dead body and someone reporting on a humanitarian crisis in Syria? Because those are both horrifying images, but one of them makes it to the top of the trending page with all the ads they could want, Google preferred ads, and the other one gets demonetized almost immediately. And it seems like there's a double standard. We know there's a double standard with YouTube because Logan Paul makes them so much money, but he's not saying any measures that they're actually going to take. He's basically just saying, yes, we are aware that there is a problem and we are working to fix it. Doing what? What are you doing? I don't know. I don't know.
I'm talking about the incentives and disincentives for that. We're thinking very deeply and every single day now on how do we create the right incentives and disincentives for creators to do the right thing on YouTube. And that means a lot of different things. That means do the right things for advertisers, do the right things for their users, for the platform organically, and not chase sensationalism, not chase views for the sake of views, not use drama for the sake of views, and not use drama at our expense for the sake of views. Right? So what's at heart for us is that we deeply care about the creator ecosystem. That's my job. If you don't succeed, we don't succeed. What we want to make sure that creators who are making a living on YouTube feel safe doing so. That there's no gaming, basically. That it's just all about doing the right thing, and it is our job to set those guidelines in place and incentives in place. So we're working on that quite busily.
We're working that quite busily. More nothing. He talks about incentives and disincentives for gaming the system using drama. Essentially, sensationalist content which gets rewarded with views and ultimately money. Casey mentioned that. He doesn't talk about how YouTube plans to do anything about that. He doesn't mention any programs that they're putting in place. And I think this has got to do with the fact that every time YouTube comes out saying, we're going to implement this new system. We saw it with the YouTube Heroes program. We're going to do this one thing, and it's going to help you and us in X, Y, and Z ways. And the community is always taken aback. The community never likes what they've put forward. So I almost feel as if he's been trained to say as little as possible and answer the questions as vaguely as possible. He's really not telling us anything about what this means for people. He's actually not even offering a disincentive to sensationalize your content. He's not offering an incentive to not be the next Keemstar or not be the next Rice Gum or whatever. He's just kind of saying, that's bad, don't do that. And he's saying, we are working on that. But again, not mentioning in any way what they're doing. So that's very unsatisfactory, as is every question so far.
I personally like a lot of news-related content on YouTube.
You like news content, but you didn't choose to get interviewed by Philly D. That's telling.
We would like more and more female creators on the platform.
I can understand wanting more female creators on the platform. It's a complete divergence from the normal line of questioning, but yes, there is a gap there, and it needs to be addressed. And I think women need to feel more safe on YouTube. But the landscape and the environment that YouTube is now, it makes perfect sense that there are less female creators, because it's a hard and rough ecosystem. It's not a safe place. It's not a nice space to work within. So it's all well and good to say that you need more female creators, but are you doing anything to foster that? No, they're saying we need more. Cool. If your tire is for the tire on your car is busted, you're going to say, I need a new tire. Well, how are you going to go about that? I need a new tire.
No one on the YouTube sort of senior executive leadership side has ever made a living as a creator. So how does Susan, how do the other leaders at YouTube empathize with the struggles of being a creator, having never been there yourself?
So I might not have produced myself, but I'll just give you my little quick background. I started in the mailroom of a talent agency, working with writers, actors, directors, stapling their pictures and resumes and sending to casting because became an assistant, and just went to work for a movie production financing company, so made a lot of films, and then went to HBO and launched HBOs around the world, and eventually to Netflix, and then to YouTube. So I've been around content all of my professional career, and I've learned it from inside out and every angle. So I'm deeply passionate about it. I love it, and that's both my professional and personal life. Now, when it comes to, but I have not been a YouTube creator myself. When you think about YouTube, it's really a massive platform. It's a massive technological feat. And what you really need is people who are incredibly proficient at building an infrastructure on a unprecedented level all around the world, of ingesting 450 hours of video every single minute, streaming a billion hours a day in HD quality. So what our company has to do is sort of marry the technological prowess with content prowess together, and do it at scale.
That wasn't even a vague answer. He just sidestepped that completely. The question was, how do you reconcile the gap between being people who are YouTube creators and the people who run YouTube who have never created anything on YouTube? And he talked a little bit about his upbringing and a little bit about his job history, but he has nothing to say about the fact that he's never had to deal with his own platform, or rather the platform at which he is upper management. That he just sidesteps that, and that's a huge question. That's really important. How do you reconcile? How do you reconcile the fact that you have never had to make a living or depend on YouTube for your survival, with the fact that you run YouTube? And I feel like that's a question that he would have a tough time answering, because YouTube has to answer first and foremost to the advertisers that pay them, and second of all to the millions and millions of people who provide a platform for those advertisers. It's very disappointing that he couldn't answer that, or that he didn't even choose to. And yeah, it's kind of telling. And if he can't even reconcile, if he can't even connect to the concept of being a YouTube creator as successful as, say, Casey Neistat, then at what point can he reconcile with the perspective of someone who is not a massive creator, someone who's just making it because they love it, or just coming up in that monetization level where they can think, maybe I can leave my job for this, maybe I can pursue my creative passion full time? He just has no connection to that thought process whatsoever, and that makes me sad.
So we think that this level is high enough for us to learn about the partner, so that we can turn ads on them and not disappoint advertisers, and at the same time that it's not so far out that it will be untenable and unreachable for them. We want as many creators monetizing, but we also want to make sure that everybody who's monetizing is doing the right thing and is protected, because if somebody doesn't do the right thing and are in there and advertisers react in a certain way, then all of you get punished. And that's not a good outcome, because then you don't succeed, we don't succeed. Nobody's happy. Okay,
so they want as many people monetizing as possible, but they want to deal with people who are monetizing for maybe the wrong reasons. Cool. And And this Logan Paul thing is actually the first time things have gone even vaguely right. They targeted Logan Paul themselves. They didn't wait for their advertisers to freak out and pull out. They stood up and did something about it. They kind of grew some balls, and they targeted Logan Paul, as opposed to with PewDiePie, where we got like 9 adpocalypses because advertisers lost their shit and the YouTube just kind of nuked all of us. So it's nice that they're not nuking all of us with this, but it's still like, it's so little, so late, and I mean, this culture of sensationalization and bullshitting for views has grown in kind of in the shadows, and nobody's noticed it growing this big, and now it's this monster that they're so slow to deal with. And that's kind of YouTube's main problem, is they're so slow to communicate, to deal with stuff, to react to stuff. And that's why we're sitting here. That's why this is happening.
It was really, really hard because you're just trying to stabilize the ecosystem that's moving around. So yes, we heard the outcry, of course, and I can tell you there's nothing more painful than hear from the advertisers, their stories, and nothing more painful than hear from the creators. And you should know, both sides think that we favor the other. Both sides think, and so we clearly have work to do.
Yeah, that's a fun anecdote that both sides think that you favor the other, and it's a nice way to keep things light, Robert Kyncl, but you haven't said anything. You haven't mentioned, you haven't actually answered the question about whether they expected the outcry from the creators, because I think the answer to that is that yes, they probably did, but they didn't care because the creators are financially less valuable than advertisers, because there are always going to be more creators. There are always going to be people who depend on YouTube to make their living, and then there are going to be advertisers, and advertisers are where the money are, and as I've said before, that's going to be their main priority every time.
I remember you calling on this issue. I think it was maybe October or somewhere there, and that's when we started to think about the let's tell creators that they shouldn't publish them yet, have them unlisted. It gets reviewed, it's scanned, and then they won't go through the volatility. So that has worked.
Okay, so here's the thing about leaving videos unlisted. Every video that I've had demonetized, I will request a review. Now, what's happened on 1 or 2 videos is I will upload it and I'll leave it as unlisted, and it'll tell me you're greenlit, you're good to go, you can monetize this. Then I publish, and within a day or 2 I get the yellow icon, the fucking yellow icon, and I go, okay, well, you guys said it was fine, but I guess I'm losing all that money now because I don't get the kind of views that last deep into the thousands and sustain themselves after what would be the review process. But it's fine. I request a manual review, and they say, we have such a backlog, we can only do it when you've reached over 1,000 views. Fine. Then on 2 occasions, my videos actually did get reviewed before they hit 1,000, which was very nice of them, I guess. And they said, you know what, we were wrong, that was a false positive, you're greenlit, you can monetize this video again. I went, okay, thanks. I mean, I lost out on 90% of the earnings of the potential earnings of that video, but it's good to know that you're at least trying. And then within another 24 hours, the video gets another fucking yellow icon, as if the original review said, no, it's fine. Then they said, no, it's not fine. Then I said, are you sure? And they said, oh yeah, no, yeah, you're right, it actually is fine. But actually, no, it's not. So that system is broken. And them saying that, it's the great way to reduce false positives is, granted, this is one example. But I haven't heard a story of someone going, yeah, my video got demonetized and I feel like it should have been demonetized. It's always cases of, why the hell did that get demonetized? Why that? And not owning up to that, not saying, listen, we know the system is not perfect, we know it's not in the best way right now. That would have been fine. In this case, if he said, we're working on improving that, I would have accepted it. But he's not saying that. He's saying it's so much better than what we had, and that's false. So, pew pew.
I wouldn't want to call it tension because it would imply that we're on opposite sides somehow, and we're not. Like, we're on the same side.
Of course you wouldn't want to call it tension because you don't want to point attention to the fact that your main priority is your advertisers. Sorry, please finish your sentence.
The thing that we have struggled with, and you've told that to me multiple times, is communication. And you should know that we try so hard to communicate with creators, and it's always so disheartening. But like we want the feedback to keep on coming, but it's disheartening to hear that it's not cutting through.
Whether or not something's disheartening shouldn't affect you as a company. You have a job to do. You have a social contract in place by existing, because we are giving you content for free. We give you most of the profits of anything we make, and then you still get advertiser revenue. I don't give a shit how disheartening it is. Do your job. It's that simple. Just do your job.
But you should know that we don't see it as tension. We see it as, if people are not happy, we have a problem, we're on the same side, we need to figure out how to fix it.
You do need to figure out how to fix it, and you need to tell us how you plan on fixing it, so that you can... Everybody talks about how YouTube's a community, but you're sitting up here, in the noble seats, not giving us the information that we need to work with you, which is why all the creators feel like they're working against you.
So what we stand for is really 4 freedoms. Freedom of opportunity, anybody to make a living on YouTube, bring revenue from the entire world.
Mm-hmm. Tell that to the small creators.
And there are many wonderful examples. Freedom of speech.
Tell that to everyone who's gotten demonetized.
As important as ever. Freedom of information, accessing it. And then the 4th one is freedom to belong. People creating communities on YouTube that they can feel like they can share a bit more with, that they may not have in person somewhere else, but on YouTube they do.
That community is the one thing he has hit the nail on the head with, but that does not come from YouTube upper management. That is an inter-creator thing that only we can take credit for because we made that. They didn't make that. So it's all well and good for them to stand for it, but they can't take credit for it.
So we have these 4 core freedoms that we truly care about. What is important to us is the success of our partners. The partners are creators and advertisers. So to us, what's most important is bringing these 2 communities together, advertisers and creators, and make sure that they all succeed. And if they do, we'll be fine. And everything that I say is like that, we're on your side. We mean it. We may not get it right, many times for one reason or another, but the intent is always good. The intent is always on your side. And so hopefully we can deliver more and more on that and truly make everybody even happier and more successful.
It's all well and good to say that you're on the same side as the creators, but the fact is that there's no one to compete with YouTube. So there's no reason for them to be better than the next platform because they're the only platform like them out there. So to me, this whole thing is spin. This whole interview is it's spin, basically. It makes me sad. It bums me out a little that we got this opportunity to actually see someone in upper management speak to an actual creator. And I really think Casey did an admirable thing here, but it's not enough. It's almost like it's too little too late, and we need something more. There's so many more things that need addressing, that I understand you can't get to everything in one interview. Yeah, it makes me sad to see that upper management is just full of PR and spin, and they don't... The way he speaks, the way he answers questions, it doesn't make me feel as though he's actually looking out for the community, as if he's actually got any interest in making life better for creators, because we've already shown YouTube, the business, that we are willing to deal with their shit, because there's nowhere else to go. There's no other place like YouTube. And they can exploit that, and that's what they're doing. They're very happy to exploit that, the fact that we can't do this anywhere else. And while I appreciate that videos like this, critiquing them, I have the freedom of speech to put this up there, but they smack you down in other ways. So it's a very thin layer of creator support on a foundation of advertiser support. And Robert Kyncl has not said anything to show that he's trying to reconcile that in any way, that he's trying to balance out those scales at all. And it's all well and good to say that the advertisers think that they're favoring the creators, but the numbers speak for themselves. The algorithm not being paid as much attention as acquiring new advertisers speaks for itself. It's very clear where YouTube's priorities lie, and this interview doesn't so much give me hope as reinforce the idea that YouTube is a tough place to make a living or to follow your dream if your dream involves making videos. So yeah, this doesn't change anything. Nothing's changed. I think it's a step in the right direction that an interview like this can even take place, but the content of the interview itself is just spin and PR for YouTube's head of management, or CBO. So yeah, that's my response to this. Please let me know yours in the comments. Let me know on Twitter. Let me know on Facebook. I'm Snackbeard everywhere. Tell me what you think, because it's weird. It's not exactly disheartening because nothing's changed. But if the knowledge that this interview was taking place got your hopes up, then I'm sorry for the disappointment. Anyway, that's gonna be it. I have nothing left in terms of feels or things to say, so I'm gonna sign out. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.